welcome the Oakland Interfaith Gospel Choir.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed. Oh, when he washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away. Oh, happy day.
Please welcome Governor Gavin Newsom, first partner Jennifer Newsom, and California's first family.
Inauguration Day. It's the best happy day. It's wonderful happy day. We're so blessed. Oh, happy
Please give a warm welcome to the first partner of California, Jennifer Newsom.
Gavin and I are extraordinarily grateful and humbled by the opportunity given by all of you to continue to serve this great state, a state we are so proud to call home. Time and time again, we've seen California's values unite us. As the most populous and culturally diverse state in the nation, we've seen our shared belief in the power of empathy, care, and inclusivity bring us together as one California family. 4 years ago, I had the privilege to read Let Us Gather in a Flourishing Way, a magical poem by U.S. and California Poet Laureate Emeritus Juan Felipe Herrera. Today, it is only fitting that I read Together We Go, California, a poem that was written specifically for this occasion by Juan Felipe and California's current Poet Laureate, Lee Herrick. The poem speaks to California's values and highlights the beautiful diversity and togetherness that sets our state ahead and apart. It's a lyrical celebration of the remarkable heart, spirit, and soul of the great people of this state. Juan, Felipe, and Lee, thank you. I'm so grateful and proud to share Together We Go, California with all of you today. Juntos vamos, California. Juntos vamos siempre. To be free, para ser unidos y cantar colectivos, with kindness y corazón, sisterhood and brotherhood. We will dance con todos desde la estrella que ilumina los campesinos hasta cada barrio, trabajadores de todas vecindades. Juntos vamos, California. Un nuevo tiempo nos espera. Juntos con nuevas ideas, vamos unidos. Soñamos, marchamos, fuentes de liberación, la nueva idea, el nuevo presente, para ella, para él, para todos con fuerza y amor. Together we go. Honremos nuestras piscas, lagunas, montañas y ríos, los valles de nuestra labor, zapateados de folclóricos. Vamos, California. Cantemos un coro nuevo, una nueva voz. Our collective llantos, and abuelitas' hopeful whisper, los cuentos de la jornada y llegada de nuestros padres, and the powerful voice de una mujer, como un amanecer. Escucha, listen. Here come our longtime corridos, our country canciones del rancho y de los campos, de guitarra y acordeón. Our klezmer, our Asian dragons, nuestros dream catchers, the deep tambores de nuestro potencial. Vamos, California, con una visión para todos. Juntos pintaremos con pinceles de arco iris y de un nuevo tiempo, pouring loose from conversations at our families' tables. Los astros y los mares nos reconocerán, and we will regain their respect de nuevo así. Together we will surf the new emerald ondas hasta llegar derecho a nuestro nuevo hogar. California, este canto es para ti. Así vamos, vamos, vamos. En cada puerta, a beach house. En cada salón, a beach school. Los papás, los estudiantes y las maestras will write and they will sing. Dibujarán y descubrirán nuestra California, our California. This is how we will go. And we will discover nuestra voz. Ella cantará, esta es mi voz, and I will shape California. Her voice might sound like the Pacific, expansive and true, y si escuchas atentamente, sonará como el amor de lo que es posible, el sueño de California. Together, let us keep rising. Soñemos, trabajemos, juguemos también. Sigamos adelante, California. Vamos juntos. Porque este es tu California, nuestra California, radiante California, flourishing California. Together, unidos we grow. Para ti, para todos, vámonos ya. Vamos con tu lucero. Viva el corazón de California. Gracias. Thank you.
Joined by California State Chief Justice Patricia Guerrero, who will be administering the oath of office. Governor of the State of California, Gavin Newsom, and the first family.
Hi. You ready?
Ready.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Gavin Newsom,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and
California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to
the duties
enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Judge.
Family,
Great job. Yeah, they're gonna move. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Let me thank all of you for taking the time to be here, and let me just express my gratitude to each and every one of you, but most importantly, to my kids. I leaned over to a few folks. I said the most stressful part of the day was, well, seeing my daughter Montana in those high heels. I'll acknowledge that. but seeing my kids get through that Pledge of Allegiance, I think we spent about 600 hours on that, and it paid dividends. It paid dividends. So did Jen learning Spanish, by the way. That's remarkable. Remarkable. Look, what a glorious and gracious day. I want to thank all of you, particularly those of you that took the time to walk with us, to march with us. Dolores Huerta leaned over and said, look, I've marched with a lot of people, but Martin Luther King never walked as fast as you are right now. I don't know if that was a brag or I don't know what it was exactly, but it was a hell of a thing to hear that from Dolores Huerta as you're walking across a bridge. And I'm honored again, all of you taking the time to be here. And I think the emphasis really is on time. I've been thinking a lot about time. You know, maybe it's my age, maybe it's being a parent, but time has been on my mind. You know, it's done the usual trick on me. It says that it's been 4 years. 4 years since I, stood in the shadow of the Capitol and delivered my first inaugural address, then with my 2-year-old in my arms, Dutch, and his pacifier. Probably the only thing you remember about that inaugural. I know my standing. 4 years. 4 years. Disaster and plague, they bend the clock in very strange ways. It feels both like a flash and an eternity. And in the longest hours of my first term, trying to plot a course through pandemic, and wildfires, and mass shootings and social unrest, I found myself looking backward as much as I was looking forward. And I recall in the 1970s when I was 10, maybe 11 years old, a child of divorce and dyslexia, trying to find my bearings. So I was a kid traveling back and forth across the Golden Gate Bridge between the two very different lives of my mother and my father. I couldn't read, and I was looking for any way to ditch classes. I'd fake stomach aches and dizziness. I'd bite down on the thermometer at the nurse's office trying to make the temperature rise past 100. Didn't work. My mom, busy juggling 3 jobs, she had no patience whatsoever for a truant. My father, the judge, guilty because he had left us, was an easier touch. I remember one time during the middle of school around lunchtime when he picked me up in his Volkswagen Bug. Beautiful car. And took me to Chinatown in San Francisco. On the face of it, it was a mission for food, but what I didn't understand back then, it was also his mission to give me a slice of San Francisco, our place, and the story of California. We crossed one of the many demarcations in the city, and suddenly we entered in a completely different realm. Through the gate of the intersection of Bush and Grant, and my eyes and my nose took it all in. Pagoda-style storefronts, red lanterns hanging from above, giant statues of Buddha in the windows, roasted duck, fresh baked cookies. My father wasn't content, though, just showing me the unfamiliar. He wanted me to see past the facade to the people themselves, the humble entrepreneurs, the immigrant parents building better lives for their kids, to the journey that had brought them to enrich our city and our state. This was the same California, by the way, that my great-great-grandparents from County Cork arrived from Ireland to start a new life in the first years of California's statehood. William Newsom the first became a beat cop in San Francisco, and the Newsoms began to plant roots as working-class Irish in a land where anything was possible. The journey from policeman to politician took about 150 years. My wife, Jennifer, the first partner, is the second in her family to be born in the Golden State. My children, Montana, Hunter, Brooklyn, and Dutch, now 5th generation Californians. All of you here today, all of you, no two California origin stories are the same, but we share aspirations, we share ambitions. And these ties bind us, sometimes unknowingly, to our state's past and to each other. I remember hot summer days with my dad riding a raft down the stretches, the most wild stretches of the American River. Those cold waters were the same ones that James Marshall found gold nuggets that would sell the California dream to the world and alter the course of American history. I'm mindful, though, there is another side to that story, not the fairy tale. California's statehood, after all, was also sealed with a brutal genocide against Native people. Reconciling that complexity has always guided my own understanding of myself and the state I love so deeply. The shameful past, shameful chapters of our history, they don't lessen my love for my home state. They make it more complicated, no doubt, deeper, richer, but they also serve as a reminder that we can always become better. The California that beckoned my forebears 170 years ago, we had a population back then of less than 93,000 people. Today, nearly 40 or so million strong, each and every one of us with our own California story. I hear the echoes of my own family story and those that are still coming to California to pursue their dreams, drawn by the myth and magic of this place. I hear the echoes in the stories of the migrants that cross our southern border seeking something better, and people who come from every continent on earth to flee political persecution, or from other states to, educate themselves in our world-class universities, to start businesses that support their families or change the world. Whether your family came here for work or safety, California offered freedom to access it. Not contingent on you looking a certain way, talking a certain way, thinking a certain way. And that's what makes this place so special. It's in our genes. We're a state of dreamers and doers, no doubt, bound by our live and let live embrace of personal freedom. But like I said, we've made mistakes. Lord knows we've made our share. Let's not forget that Chinatown that I visited a boy as a remnant of the bigotry of the agitator at the time, Dennis Kearney, and the Chinese Exclusion Act of the late 1880s. Tens of thousands of Japanese Americans were interned right here in World War II. The post-World War era, California's suburb grew. You saw the racist practice of exclusionary zoning took hold, denying Black, Asian, American, and Latino residents the right to live on the good side of town and build wealth. That planted, in many ways, by the way, the seeds of the housing and homeless crisis that we face today. Even California, even our state, indulged in homophobic hate at the ballot box with the Briggs Initiative, the 1970s version of Don't Say Gay. How original. And of course, the 1990s that brought a wave of anti-immigrant xenophobia, nativism manifesting in Prop 187. These are dark moments in California's journey. But in the end, we confronted our errors with humility and conviction, paving the way for rights and freedom to prevail. Every day, California commits itself to the process of getting it right for the next generation. You know, my nearly 3 decades now, 30 years in politics, I've had the opportunity to see this process firsthand, learning as we go and etching these learnings on the consciousness of a country that perhaps hasn't caught up yet. You know, when we started issuing same-sex marriage licenses in San Francisco in 2004, it felt like history. It felt like history was moving at the time at light speed in the right direction. Decades and decades of advocacy, culminating with that beautiful, that indelible winter of love. But that victory to expand rights, to expand freedom to marry, was snatched away by a backlash that resulted in Proposition 8. Eventually, after many setbacks and many steps forward, just a few weeks ago, President Biden signed legislation enshrining that freedom to marry. And that's been the story, hasn't it? That's been the story of progress throughout our history. It's not always easier, it's not always linear. But in the end, the verdict is clear. Crystal clear. Expanding rights is always the right thing to do. And yet, there's still forces, pretty clear, still forces in America that want to take this nation backward. We saw that 2 years ago on this day when the unthinkable happened at a place most Americans assumed was invincible. An insurrectionist mob ransacking a sacred pillar of our democracy, violently clashing with sworn officers upholding the rule of law. By the way, just like the brave men and women whose heroism we inscribe here on our own peace officers' memorial. And I think it's safe to say, you know, since that terrible day, we've wrestled with fundamentally what those events say about us as a country. The ugliness that overflowed on January 6, 2021, we know this, was in fact decades in the making, fomented by people who have a very different vision of America's future. Very different. Red state politicians and the media empire behind them selling regression as progress, oppression as freedom. And as we all know too well, there's nothing original about their demagoguery. All across the nation, anxiety about social change has awakened long dormant authoritarian impulses, calling into question what America is to become, freer and fairer, or reverting to a darker past. Instead of finding solutions, these politicians, devoid of any new ideas, pursuing power at any cost, are playing on our fears, our prejudices, and our paranoias. the struggle to be who we ought to be as a nation is difficult, yes, and demanding. And that's why we should be clear-eyed, crystal clear about their aims. They're promoting grievance and victimhood in an attempt to erase so much of the progress you and I have witnessed in our lifetimes. They make it harder. They make it harder to vote and easier to buy illegal guns. They silence speech, fire teachers, kidnap migrants, subjugate women, attack the Special Olympics, and even demonize Mickey Mouse. All camouflaged under the hijacking of the word freedom. But what they really want, you know this, is more control, intrusive government, command over your most intimate decisions, when to have a family, how to raise your kids, how to love. And while they cry freedom, they dictate the choices. They dictate the choices people are allowed to make, fanning the flames of these exhaustive culture wars. Banning abortion, banning books, banning free speech in the classroom and in the boardroom. They sell fear. They sell fear and panic when it comes to crime and immigration, but they sell calm and indifference when the threat is greenhouse gases destroying our planet or big oil raking in record windfall profits at your expense. But California, your state, our state, that offers a reason for hope. Someone said this years ago about our state: there's no soil better adapted. I love that. No soil better adapted to liberty and opportunity, the sense of possibility, than here in our home state, California. Now the fourth largest economy in the world. More venture capital, more startups than any other state in America, leading the world in the transition to a low-carbon, green growth future. An industrial economy. And it's leading the way in biotherapeutics and genomics and aerospace and battery storage, high-speed internet connecting Central Valley to the Central Coast. We're rebuilding roads from Wairika to San Ysidro, providing clean water from Colusa to Coachella. But New Cal Poly and Humboldt conveying more scientists, more researchers, more engineers, more Nobel laureates than any other state in the nation. We have debt-free college for hundreds of thousands of students and the largest volunteer corps in America. I am mindful though, like the nation, we're two rivers at once, a mix of light and shadows. So as we go forward, we must continue our quest for an honest accounting for where we've fallen short. None of us are naive on affordability, on housing, on homelessness. Because in the pursuit of belonging and equal justice, California must be the enduring proof of concept. We must reconcile our shortcomings, bring everyone along in our prosperity. After all, a healthy democracy must be inclusive. Government by the people and for the people requires people willing to fight and to protect to advance it. That's just like we did last year, isn't it? Just like we all did. And we overwhelmingly enshrined reproductive rights into our state constitution. You chose choice. In our finest hours, California has been, freedom's force multiplier, protecting liberty from a rising tide of oppression, taking root in state houses, weaknesses masquerading as strength, small men in big offices. More than any people in any place, California has bridged the historical expanse between freedom for some and freedom for all. At our best, we open our arms, not clench our fists. We turn our gaze upward, not inward. Freedom is our essence, our brand name. an abiding idea that right here, anyone from anywhere can accomplish anything. We've overcome, haven't we, California? We've overcome the destructive impulses of extremism and racism and nativism and shown the rest of America it's not only achievable, it's undeniable. But going forward, California will continue to lead out loud by advancing a far-reaching freedom agenda, a full-throated answer to the demagogues of division determined to regress and oppress. Freedom, by the way. Freedom for teachers. Freedom for teachers to teach, free of litmus tests about their political party or the person they love. Freedom to access health care for all Californians, regardless of your immigration status. Freedom from big pharma's grips, competing head-on by manufacturing our own life-saving drugs. And we shouldn't even have to say this, freedom to vote without intimidation with results decided by the people, not politicians. The battle lines, they're drawn. And I'll say it once again, it is time for choosing. Let's not forget, the policies that started here in our state, California, were once considered nothing more than romantic possibilities. They've now become commonplace across the other 49 states. It is absolutely true. California lights out the territory for the rest. That's what we do best, giving shape to the future, molding the character of the nation. Just like those rivers. Just like those rivers that molded and sculpted so many of California's deepest valleys, the places of my childhood memories, those rafting and camping trips with my dad, falling in love with California over and over and over again. My dad died shortly after I was elected governor in 2018. He never got to see his son assume office, nor did my mother, Tessa, who died just before I became mayor of San Francisco. But their dreams, their spirit, their love of California is with me every day, just as they were last year. Last year when I found myself with leaders of California's most populous tribe, the Yurok. I was floating down another great American river, the Klamath, in a traditional dugout canoe. We stopped for dinner. Stopped for dinner right on the river bank and prepared salmon smoked on redwood over a traditional fire pit. The bark infused flavor into the fish, imparting a taste familiar to the Yurok people, stretching back to their earliest ancestors. Just a few weeks ago, I returned to the Klamath and met with the Yurok, Karuk, and Klamath tribal leaders, this time, though, to celebrate the removal of 4 dams, America's largest dam removal project in U.S. history. Setting the river free once more, restoring natural salmon runs, and in so doing, righting an historical wrong. Because this is what California does. And it's what I've dedicated my life to, standing up for ideals, striking out against injustice. After all, history reminds us that each of us will be judged, and perhaps more importantly and powerfully, each of us will judge ourselves to the extent we contribute, as Bobby Kennedy said, to the life of our cities, our state, our nation, and the world we're trying to build. And that brings me back to time. Time is undefeated. It's relentless. And so our fleeting moment, we must fight against our worst impulses and find our better angels. Because at the end of the day, our lives are just too short. Our wisdom is too limited to win fleeting victories at other people's expense. We must all triumph together. Thank you all very much, California. Thank you for the privilege of 4 more years. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.